Hello everyone. So it's the 1st of January 2018, New Year's Day. Um, I want to I want to do a bit of a review of 2017. First of all, I hope everyone had a pleasant and trouble-free New Year's Eve. I always consider New Year's Eve an interesting time to reflect on the previous year. Um, and I always find it can be useful as a tool, for kind of putting some things in the past. So we now know that all the doubt, all the awkwardness, all the, I'm not going to say all the pain, but let's say the lesser problems of 2017 are now dust. I don't believe that you could totally take a new year as being 100% a fresh start, especially if you're in a situation in life where there are ongoing issues. I don't think you could use, as much as we would like to, a new year to totally evaporate like ongoing problems. But I do think that you can put the more lesser things as part of history, which then helps you to move on into the next year. So, like I said, I want to do a review of 2017, um, and rather than going through a really in depth account of every single thing that's happened in what has been a very turbulent year. But then again, I think you could say that about almost any year. In the whole world, every year is eventful. Some years do stand out a bit more than others. For example, we think of 1989, we think of 2011, we think of certain years that perhaps stand out a bit more than others. 2008, I would add, because it may be that there is more things going on than usual in particular years. But every year is eventful when you take everything together. So 2017 was, first of all, the year that President Trump came to office. I think it's fair to say he's been one of the most controversial presidents in American history. And frankly, yes, one of the most divisive. Trump has been in office now for almost a year, and it's been a very turbulent time. Um, Immediately into his tenure as president, he saw huge protests. There was a Women's March. Apparently, Merriam-Webster has called 2017 the year feminism was the word of the year. That doesn't really surprise me when you consider how much the issue of women's rights and women's activism has been at the fore. I've got my views on modern Western feminism, but I wouldn't dispute that. I wouldn't dispute that has been a very, very topical issue. Um, Culminating later in the year with the Weinstein allegations and everything around that. One good thing about this, perhaps, is that, well, no, I'll bring that into the next video. I'm going to make a video, if you stay tuned, for expectations and hopes for 2018. Um, I really don't know where to start. So many things happened in 2017. I'm someone that collects newspapers, basically. You know, some people collect stamps, some people collect watches, some people collect playing sick bags, believe it or not. Check out the Guinness Book of Records. I collect newspapers. They got just 2017. I get them from all national papers. I have my preferences, but I even get papers I don't particularly like, editorial speaking, simply because it's something that, you know what, I might even make a specific video about this. But anyway, 334 newspapers the year 2017, which is almost a record for me um, for a single year. But I don't want to go through every single event because, like I say, I'll no doubt miss something that is important. There's so much that happened in 2017. Um, Weather-wise, it was a very, very dramatic year. There wasn't any massive natural disasters on the scale of, you know, tens of thousands of deaths, but there were a lot of large disasters. You know, in terms of meteorological events, weather events, seismic events, there were a lot of things. There was the two big earthquakes in Mexico and in on the Iran-Iraq border. There was many floods all over the world in Zimbabwe, in Ethiopia. in Peru, in Brazil, in Colombia, in India, in Pakistan, in Sri Lanka, in Southeast Asia. There was a devastating mudslide in Colombia. I believe the town was called Macoa. And Sierra Leone also had a devastating mudslide. Almost 1,000 people perished. In the United States, there was, of course, Hurricane Harvey hitting Texas, followed by Maria and Irma, devastating the Caribbean. There was huge forest fires in California. I believe they're now a record. It's something that seems to happen every year, but this year was a record. Um, and no doubt there were events all over the world, probably that I've missed. Portugal, also devastating forest fires there. Um, Politically, alongside Trump's inauguration, there was the election of Emmanuel Macron as president of France and the rise of the French nationalists in that election, and Marine Le Pen. Macron, of course, is the youngest French president since Napoleon, or the youngest French head of state, I should say, since Napoleon. Um, Angela Merkel won re-election in Germany. Here in Britain, we had a very eventful 2017. We had, of course, the general election. We had all the Brexit negotiations. We had the triggering of Article 50. Brexit's going to be an ongoing issue, no doubt, throughout this year as well. Um, what else have we had? In 2017, it's difficult to look at the year without thinking there was a lot of tragedy in the UK. Unfortunately, a lot of it man made. There was awful terrorist attacks in Manchester and London. There was the horrendous fire at Grenville, which I think will be deep on the psyche of that community for years to come. And not since the late 80s can I think of a time when the UK has had so many tragedies happening in one year. You know, the late 80s, there was a lot of big disasters like Hillsborough, the M1 plane crash, the Herald of Free Enterprise sinking, the Lockerbie disaster, to name a few. The Lockerbie attack, I should say. Um, so not since the late 80s can I think of a year like 2017 for the UK. May's approval ratings went from being very comfortable at the start of the year to very bad at the end, such is the brutal nature of politics. Jeremy Corbyn, by contrast, has found his approval ratings rising, though there's still many questions around his philosophy as a leader. Um, what else can we say about 2017? In the United States, all the Russia claims and Donald Trump's counterclaims, his ongoing war with the media, um, the Comey hearings. Um, in the world, we saw humanitarian crises in Myanmar and in Yemen. Um, the war in Syria and Iraq raged on. However, the end of the year may be on a more positive note where we may see the defeat of ISIS in Iraq and Syria, though my view is a cornered dog can still be dangerous, and we saw what they done in Egypt and in other parts of the world. Um, I think the issue of gun violence has definitely come to the fore again in the United States with the atrocities in Las Vegas and Texas. Um, Goodness me, I'm trying to think of all the things that have happened. Venezuela saw great instability throughout 2017. Um, then we had the 20th anniversary of the Hong Kong handover, Xi Jinping's controversial visit to Hong Kong and the big protests there. We saw the dramatic events in Zimbabwe, Mugabe finally going, which is definitely not something that people would have predicted. Um, so yeah, all in all, it's been a very, very eventful year. We also said goodbye to a lot of prominent people in the world of acting. There was John Hurt, Adam West, Roger Moore, one of my personal favorite Bonds. In the world of music, who can forget Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, Glenn Campbell, Johnny Halliday, David Cassidy. In the world of politics, we said goodbye to Helmut Kohl, Rodri Morgan, the First Minister of Wales, um, Mario Suarez, Manuel Noriega, among many others. Um, and I've no doubt that there will be many other names that I unintentionally omitted there. Um, Claire Hollingworth, the award-winning journalist who broke the news of World War Two breaking out. Um, Goodness me, there was so many. I don't want to go through everyone though because I'll risk leaving someone out. In the world of boxing, Jake LaMotta. Um, in the world of space travel, we saw the death of Eugene Cernan. Um, Thinking of science, it was the end of the Saturn probe, um, the Cassini probe to Saturn, I should say. We saw some promising signs of life in other planets, and I think 2017 could be seen as an interesting year for innovation. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I know that I undoubtedly will leave something out and I'll think I should have said that, I should have said this, I should have said that. Um, I have no doubt that will be the case. So I will leave it there for now. South Korea also saw a very dramatic year, and I have to finish with this. North Korea. Goodness me, how could I forget that? North Korea has always been volatile, but 2017 really has seen the situation escalate to something whereby we are looking at the most serious situation since the Cuban Missile Crisis. I hope this is resolved in 2018, but I'll make another video to that effect. Like I said, I've no doubt there will be things that I left out, which was unintentional, but I will leave it there for now. Stay tuned for my video about 2018. Thanks for watching, and Happy New Year, and if you're in China, 新年快乐.